but the reality of what they are doing is they're creating a kind of a reverse productivity model, right? Because the
Mhm.
reality is now instead of me saying, "Hey, Owen, I need you to be 80% productive," instead what we're saying is, "Hey, Owen, I'm going to not just pay you if you just don't see that many patients." Like, how crazy is
Yeah.
that? Like, that's the
Think
difference in basically what's going on, right?
think of the
So,
stress that would cause, right?
for
Like
sure.
if you're mostly productivity, right? Where you're like, oh man, I got to keep up. And the biggest problem I found with that is when you don't have control, right?
Yeah,
If you're treating patients all day, you're not marketing. So you might get some crappy referrals, right?
for
You
sure.
might have a marketing person who brings in someone who's way less likely to stay, right?
For sure.
So yeah, it's the productivity side, I get it as an owner. I get it as an owner because you're like, look, I'm not making a huge margin anyway, and I know to make sure I don't go backwards, I have to hire somebody, but I'm not exactly forwards either. Let's figure out a productivity thing so that way I get paid that day, right? Or
Yep.
I make sure I get paid first before I pay them, right? Totally get it, 100%. But that is a recipe for stress for that employee, right? Because you're thinking about it, all those numbers, all that math they have to do, and it's maybe a difference of five or $10,000,
Yeah.
right? And we're not talking massive money. So they don't sit there, they say, okay, I got 10 grand more. Cool, I went on vacation when I otherwise wouldn't. But we're not talking life-changing money. But if you put a productivity stress on them, that's life changing, right?
For
As
sure.
opposed to salary, right? So you got to find the right person who loves that. Like they're competitive, they want to do that. Like, let's go. That person's going to get activated by that productivity. But if you do that to somebody who doesn't want to do that, then they're going to be like, okay, 10,000 is great, but all that means is I can get, two more subscriptions and like a weekend in San Diego. Not worth it. I'm changing jobs. So,
Well, and on top of that, for those who are thinking about doing this, the reality of what I kind of see too, he's a person who's usually into that, especially in a cash-based practice. Well, guess where they're going in a few years? That
mhm.
person left and then tried to take all the clients with him. That's why he got terminated. And then he took some clients with him. So the
Yep.
reality, that's what makes it hard to scale when you do that. So you want to make sure that people are comfortable because if they're comfortable, whatever capacity that you do, it's the job owner, it's the owner's basically the biggest thing I tell people is if you think about it as an owner, it's your job to make sure that you're ensuring their livelihood through salary. If you
Mhm.
can't do that, that means you're not getting enough clients to the door, right?
Yep.
And so at the end of the day, if you need to go to this like incentive-based thing where it's 65 plus that, like in my head, I'm like, oh, so they're nervous about not getting me full fast enough. That's where the
Mhm.
margins are. That's where the profitability is in the business,
Yep.
right? Whereas if they can offer me a salary nice up front, like that means, okay, the business is like stable,
Yeah.
right? That's exactly what you should think about. Is like if the reality of the situation is if whether it's cash based, insurance, whatever, it doesn't matter. If that's not like locked up, then you got a problem. So that's something that I think is a big piece of this for sure.
Yeah, and I think it's important for owners to know you may be paying 60% of revenue for somebody on their first 3 months. But the kicker is it costs 50 grand to 100 grand to replace somebody in terms of lost time and lost business and all that stuff. So it's like and signing bonuses and everything. So you have to somewhat be okay with the fact that it might be a rough few months when you first hire them. But
Totally. That's the reality of what everyone needs to wrap their head around.